cutting-edge guests, awesome, uncensored, jaw-dropping information, plus funny memes, good deeds, and loads of laughter. Kind of have it all. Ladies and gentlemen, if your soul is awake, then welcome, because you're in the right place. All right, you divine lions and lionesses, welcome to the Quantum Financial System Has It Gone Live show. We just wrapped up the most incredible week on the financial markets in all of history since 1913, which literally stole the wealth and the money from the people, not only in America, but across the globe. Bank of America has just projected silver could reach up to $309 an ounce this year alone. We believe it's going to $1,188 an ounce before the end of the year. So stay tuned, because you will see all of the hints, the notes of Jasara gone live. And since Q is real, you'll also tap into the evidence I'll be showing you from the White House all the way through to the financial markets as to how everyday people may potentially tap into millions over the next several years, and perhaps billions await some of us. It all gets back to humanitarian causes, though, because we can only go so far in this beautiful life that we have on Earth, and we need to leave it better than we found it. We'll see you soon in the live stream. Well, it's Friday, January the 9th, and it's 5 o'clock Eastern. Everybody, good afternoon, good evening to you, divine lions and lionesses around the world. We are at an epic point in history, as you saw in that reel. We just closed out the greatest week in history. It's the best week for the world since 1913. They brought in that act, as I mentioned. Now, who am I? Once again, if you're brand new, Brad Wozni, here, host of the Sovereign Soul Show. We got our love, levity, liberty is our creed, and the Bling Buddha, who is mascot, firing red pills from his 9mm over my shoulder with a Punisher tattoo over his left breast, signalizing save the children. That's first and foremost what this is all about. Yes, this show is directly on finance, sovereignty, sound money, and what could very well, based on all the live reports, no fluff here, that I've seen just in the last couple of days, including up to an hour ago. And it's freaking mind-blowing, and it's really great if you're just part of this great awakening experience. Pretty bad if you're an institutional investor, unless you had some insider knowledge and access, right? Now, when I went to Wilfrid Laurier University for the Honors Economics program, which in the 90s was considered to be the Harvard Business School of the North in Canada, in Waterloo, Wilfrid Laurier Wilfrid Laurier University indoctrination camp, right? I was also part of the Canadian Infantry. You know, I signed up, volunteered to be an infantry soldier, thought that I might do that for a full 20-year career. And what was really cool in my time there, I also got to deploy domestically when Ice Storm 98 happened across the Northeast. Now, that was a smackdown like we'd never seen before from weather, and actually haven't seen it since, from all across northeast of the United States to Quebec to Ontario. Those of you in the audience remember just how crazy and heinous it was. 2 feet of ice, 2 feet of ice fell pretty much cranked out. Of course, they're already playing with my internet connection here again. And what's really important to that, it correlates with what we see here today, because when people get into a frenzy, they will go crazy, and emotion overrides logic, and they will go nuts. For example, in Ice Storm 98, we were getting reports when we were deployed to a place near Kingston, Ontario, Canadian Forces Base Trenton, a place called Cornwall, right? And we had people that were using chainsaws to go through concrete walls of outdoor storage sheds to get to power generators from their own neighbor, stealing it because, you know, it was freezing to death conditions. Now, fortunately, the silver shockwave that we're covering here today doesn't mean it's a death condition for a life standpoint, but what it is a death condition for the Federal Reserve Bank and the bankster cartel as we continue out here. And by the way, we're still suppressed on X. Grok just confirmed twice over the last 5 days. I even sent a message for the second time to Elon Musk and to Twitter X Premium saying Grok has proven that we are suppressed on Twitter X. We are still shadow banned and visibly throttled. So please, drop a like in the comments, subscribe wherever you're here on Rumble or on YouTube, watching this or hearing this later on podcast, Apple, Amazon, Spotify. We appreciate it to get the message out because we're taking this from a consciousness standpoint for sovereignty in our souls out to the world, right? Calm, true intel to help you do incredible things in your lives, prepare for what's to come, and be part of this incredible rising tide in the quantum financial system, being like tip of the spear, which is all of you sovereign souls. So thank you guys and ladies for being here. That's why I say you're a divine lion and a lioness, right? The lions eat jackals for breakfast. We know who the jackals are. We are awake sovereign souls of the large majority of the, not the small fringe minority, as Justine Trudeau once said. But where it matters first and foremost about all this is what true freedom looks like. And unless you have your health and true freedom in your country and true freedom in your community, it means nothing. And I would like to just share these two videos with you before we really dive into the financial markets and just grab a box of tissues, because this is what we are fighting for around the world. And the white hats and President Trump and the alliance that has come generations before it, all the way back to President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who signed Executive Order 11110, that's 5 ones and a 0, to bring back a silver-backed currency and return to constitutional sound money in America and to smite the Federal Reserve and central banks. This is what it's all about. And that's why they took that man out. Incredible hero, World War II hero, remember? President JFK had a Purple Heart serving in the Navy in the Pacific, saving his men in the water and being stranded on an island for days. This man here deserves all of our praise and respect. So do all of the other great men and women who have served and come before us and paid the ultimate sacrifice to get us to this point in time. Enjoy this quick video, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is what true freedom looks like.
I'm going under and I feel this time there's no one to save me. This all or nothing really got a way of driving me crazy. I need somebody to hear, somebody to know, somebody to have, somebody to hold. It's easy to say, but it's never the same. I guess I kinda like the way you numb all the pain, and now the day bleeds into nightfall, and you're not here to get me through it all. I let my guard down, and you pulled the rug. I was getting kinda used to being so.
That's what freedom looks like. And that freedom is breaking out in a revolution across the world right now in this Jubilee year. In Iran, right now, you have millions of people on the street who are kicking out the terrorist regimes in Sharia law. In Canada, we have people in Alberta who are setting up the sovereign independence movement to remove themselves from the Canada Crown Corporation. 51st state. It's happening all around the world. That's what freedom looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This next clip, straight from Venezuela, from persecuted patriots, prisoners, and pastors, 800 of them freed today after years in prison. Feel this.
Ya terminó todo. Puesto en libertad a Diego Piglieri y Enrique Márquez.
That's what it's all about. So while the title of this show, whether you're on Rumble or you see it on YouTube, about what we are looking at, the silver shockwave, yeah, financial freedom is extremely important to all of us, but it means nothing if you can't enjoy it and share it with your loved ones and those who deserve it from a humanitarian aspect. I remember being at Research in Motion BlackBerry in early 2000s, and our co-CEOs became multi-billionaires. And then the quote was shared with me from Earl Nightingale in The Strangest Secret that said, you can be a poor asshole, but if you get rich, you get just a richer asshole. So money is not an equalizer. Money is something that is part of an energy of sovereignty that you draw to you and you see how you use it in the world. Maybe you don't do humanitarian efforts for 10 years, but it's towards something other and amazing. And that's exactly what is coming, dear souls. That is exactly where you stand right now at this incredible precipice, because we are at this point in time where we will never, ever go back to fiat, cabal, Federal Reserve note, nothing federal, not backed by anything. And here we are in the middle of this revaluation of currencies and restoration to sovereignty in God all across the place. And we start right here with exactly what President Trump issued 48 hours ago, a $200 billion mortgage buyback, 200 billion US dollars. That's half a trillion Canadian right now, or Australian or New Zealand, pretty much on the exchange, right? Of buying up the mortgages, dropping as much as possible on the marketplace, dropping interest rates, and making the American dream, which is to afford your own home and not have a mortgage, which is French, two nouns in French. Mortgage means death pledge. And oui, je parle petit peu français, okay? Because my mother, ma mère, is français. So here we are. We stand at the precipice of an incredible jubilee for everyone. And watch this video as well, because this happened just an hour ago, and Andy Schechtman jumped on real quick Jim Ferguson and pumped it out, because right now when markets closed, an additional 63 million ounces of silver were pulled out of COMEX. Listen to this. It's a minute and 17 seconds, because this will go to where I believe silver is going to hit $1,188 before the end of the year. And we've already shown you the shows beforehand. So drop a comment, drop a like. Are you looking silver? Are you looking at XRP? Are you following COMEX right now? And listen closely to what Andy says about what just happened. 35 years experience on this, man.
For 63 million ounces. And it's really, really important to understand that deliveries never happen. In bulk London and in the US, less than 1% of contracts ever stood for delivery. Someone just stood for delivery for 63 million ounces. Now ask yourself this. Who's doing this? These are the most well-funded and, more importantly, Jim, the most well-informed traders on the globe. The central banks, the commercial banks, the sovereign wealth funds, they are quietly, don't tell, they are quietly draining the world's exchanges out from underneath the public when the media doesn't say a word about it. What this says is that, yeah, the price is doing really well, but the most well-informed traders on the globe are front-running something far, far bigger, because nobody ever stood for delivery. It was just paper going back and forth. And now they're like, yeah, we don't want the paper promises anymore. Give us the real thing. It's starting to accelerate. And that is only thing you need to take away from this conversation, is that the most well-funded, well-informed traders in the world are standing for delivery at a level that nobody has ever seen.
63 million ounces out of COMEX. Now, it's been rumored, you dear souls, that COMEX has roughly 850 million ounces in inventory for the paper shorts to be used. So again, fractional investment banking, covered this quite a bit. If you are all brand new here, you can go right over the best one right now on Rumble, because we've just got our YouTube channel back here a little over 60 days ago, and it's been gone for 3 years. So everything is here on Rumble. We are on QFS Go Live right now. But if you look over at Send It Sunday, why silver can hit a $1,188 an ounce as FAFO goes active, and the IQDRV and XRP and the J6 Justice, highly encourage you to go back to that. That is Sunday, 5 days ago. And you can see a whole bunch of shows here. 120 an ounce silver that I called a month ago, $5,000 an ounce gold is also on here. If you go back, that was already to Rumble, of course, wants me to verify that I'm human. We're doing this live. That's why there is no subtext on the screen, everybody. We had somebody asking that earlier. $8,000 an ounce gold 2 months ago. guess what? I believe we're going to see $10,000 an ounce gold likely before the end of the year. I even proved the math as a result of that based on the CAGR on the daily averaging rate of 750 days prior to it. And then you'd see $120 an ounce silver. But we passed 120 an ounce silver on the markets last week in Japan. So you have the disparity, you have backwardation going on. And if you don't know, we are aligned with Goldco as our partner. You go to BuddhaLovesGold.com, right? It's scrolling across screen. It's right in the description. It's immediately down below. They are America's #1 precious metals experts. They still have silver bullion because I'm about to show you in 3 minutes' time that one of the top bullion dealers in America said that all retailers and every wholesaler that he's aware of are out of silver for the public. And you just heard Sheckman say it's central banks, sovereign wealth funds, and nations themselves and institutional investors and hedge funds, which are buying up gold, buying up silver for themselves and sucking it off the market. So you, me, our family can't get silver or gold right now, except with our partner right now, Goldco at BuddhaLovesGold.com. And once again, I'm going to show you all of this and why I feel you might see $27,000 an ounce gold in the next 4 years. You'll see that video here in a moment. So I'm going to show you the COMEX vaults, right? And I had this independently verified that these are the COMEX vaults and withdrawals because we had in the neighborhood of 433 million ounces of silver, which was removed from the COMEX vault. So it was taken off the market. And JP Morgan Chase made their own trade a week ago to withdraw over 123 million ounces of silver, ounces, bars, pallets, kilograms, right? Massive, massive. So they took it off. They're not doing paper trading, shorts, ETFs, or stuff like this based on that com right here. And that's all verified. That's out there right now. We just saw, as I mentioned to you, the CEO of Scottsdale Mint has said that silver wholesalers and most consumer direct shops and retail are sold out, not just in America, but worldwide. Worldwide. Josh Philip Fair is the CEO of the Scottsdale Mint. And he says the reason that he posted this on Wednesday, reason I've been quiet since my 850,000 view post on Sunday, incredibly busy with my teams, wholesalers, and most consumer direct shops of retail silver product are now sold out worldwide. Worldwide silver from the CEO of one of the largest freaking bullion dealers and mint in America and the world. Goldco still has some. BuddhaLovesGold.com. They're like having God on speed dial. And there's a toll-free number there in America. You can call them right now and you can talk about your 401k or IRA, how you could roll that over penalty-free if you're still worried about the IRS, so you get to avoid IRS penalties. You are not going to hear this, from your investment advisor, and you're not going to hear this from your stockbroker. Why? Because I've had investment advisors and stockbrokers previous jobs here on the show over these last nearly 4 years. Well, it is 4 years now. And they have said that if they told you to allocate into physical precious metals like gold or silver, they would be immediately terminated, fired from the job, because there's something in Wall Street and Bay Street in Toronto and all the other whatever streets you have in London, Melbourne, Sydney, whatever, that's called selling away the client. You can't sell them something that you don't have to offer them. And Wall Street firms, whether it's Charles Schwab, etc., that we've all seen so far to date, they don't have physical bullion to sell you. So you have to go directly to that precious metals expert dealer. And they're like having God on speed dial for precious metals. They're voted #1 in customer service 2024. They're voted #1 in investment advice for precious metals by Money Magazine last year, 2025. BuddhaLovesGold.com gets you there. There's also a silver squeeze report, right, on how Americans are protecting it. And they bought billions of dollars worth of gold and silver through our partner. And they're still active right now. So you just saw the CEO of Scottsdale Mint 48 hours ago saying that wholesale and most consumer direct shops of retail silver product are now sold out worldwide 48 hours ago. You just saw Andy Schectman say that a 63 million ounces of silver was just pulled off the market today. That's a capital call saying we don't want money. We want silver. Send it to us. And I just reported to you and showed you the COMEX chart, which we had verified, that has you at over 435 million ounces of silver that had been pulled out of COMEX. And JP Morgan did 123 million just a couple days ago. So this is the silver shockwave. It's no longer a silver squeeze. It's a silver shockwave. And just to remind people, there was a great chart put out by somebody on X. I can't remember the account. Otherwise, I'd give you a kudos to that. But once again, you're looking at the disparity, right? And this is just yesterday's chart. The closing price of silver yesterday, silver spot in the US, which is different than China, Japan, and UAE, is $80.19. Gold closed at $44.97. But just remember, right? Last week, silver closed at 72, gold at 43.30. And a year ago, this past week, gold was 26.50 and silver was 30. So silver has gone up 140% in a year, and it's continuing to rise as we return to constitutional money. Constitutional money, metallism. And as I've shared on many shows, you go to the Mint Act of Philadelphia of 1792. Constitutional money, which is sound money, requires a metallism rate established by the United States Treasury of 15 to 1. 15 to 1. 15 ounces of silver must equate to 1 ounce of gold, right? Well, do you think that's maybe why that Bank of America's economist, and I'm going to go right over to the article so you can see this as well, you dear souls, it's freaking awesome, is sitting here saying that he expects this year silver could top out between 135 and 309. $309 an ounce. Right there, it's on Kitco, and this also goes back to B of A. And if anybody wants an additional report to verify all of this, it's also here on mining.com. You can scroll down to it. It talks about B of A, 309 per ounce, talks about gold 2025 gained over 140%. And Widmer's prediction of Bank of America was that he suggested silver could still outperform gold because, again, the ratio going to as much as $309 an ounce. $309 an ounce. That's from Bank of America, one of the top 5 banks in the United States, right? And one of the largest in the freaking world. These guys are part of the cabal set up by them. And now, as we know in the Q, White Hat Alliance to save the world, trust the plan, Great Awakening, you name it. They have been taken over by the White Hats, given the opportunity to set up on the QFS. And once again, everybody, QFS is a quantum financial system. It's quantum computing. XRP Ledger, Ripple's XRP Ledger, runs on quantum computers. And ISO 20022, which was passed and had to be active across all banking financial institutions worldwide, which is a replacement to SWIFT, was done in November. And just FYI, here's President Trump 5 months ago signing the Genius Act into law in August and talking about the Ripple RLUSD stablecoin. Here it is.
This afternoon, we take a giant step to cement American dominance of global finance and crypto technology as we sign the landmark Genius Act. I pledge that we would bring back American liberty and leadership and make the United States the crypto capital of the world, and that's what we've done. The Genius Act creates a clear and simple regulatory framework to establish and unleash the immense promise of dollar-backed stable coins.
This Genius Act will unlock American dominance in the crypto industry by creating clear rules of the road. It will update archaic payment rails with a revolutionary new payment system, and it will extend U.S. dollar dominance, like you said, globally. This is a huge promise made and promise kept by President Trump. We have a deal maker in chief, and it's because of your vision, your leadership, your determination, your skill that we're all here today. So thank you very much, President Trump.
With today's signing, the future of crypto and the crypto industry, the U.S. dollar working together is going to be stronger and bigger and better than ever before. Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you.
So, it's here, right? 5 years ago, look at all the censorship that I've went through. So many others have went through. I've been debanked by China, right? They seized my bank accounts. That's it. Been deplatformed everywhere from YouTube to Spotify, you name it. Suppressed on Rumble, third account, Twitter, X now, Twitter then, etc. Because of truth and sharing truth, and all the truth wasn't conspiracy. We don't know. We're making this up. Myth, right? No, it's all fact. And you saw Make America Healthy Again come out this week and last week about the stuff that we've been talking about 5 years ago, warning people not to do, not to put the stuff inside their body, not to do the things over their face because they actually don't work. This from a guy who is a freaking Canadian Armed Forces combat trained infantry soldier. We know what a real mask does to work. That is your threat over protective posture high, top high. When you have a mask that seals you, you're wearing a charcoal, or you have an NBC filter on it, a real gas mask, right? Not one of these little diapers where if somebody is smoking beside you or past wind, you'd be able to smell it. That doesn't work. But here we are right now, like sounding the horn. The silver shockwaves are already here, and you're not seeing this in mainstream media, which is unfortunate because we're not getting this out to the world from a standpoint to help American families, Canadian families, Australians, Swedish, Swiss, South Africans, you name it. So you have to rely on platforms like this. This is why I'm like pounding this out right now on these shows, these last 90 plus days about silver, gold, what's to happen, the change, the quantum financial system. It is just Sarah. Whether you believe it or not, we have people sitting here going, wait, I didn't get a special letter in the mail that says just Sarah is active. Like, my goodness, people, Global Economic Security and Reformation Act. It's right here. It's in front of our faces. It's the quantum financial system. And if anybody has any inclinations as to like, is it really happening? Once again, ISO 20022 and Bank of America is even confirming it's leveraging XRP, Ripple. It did so in press releases in 2024, 2025, even with the SEC lawsuits going on against them by the deep state Biden Obama era regime. Here is Bank of America confirming this on Fox News just a few days ago.
To be looking at right now.
Absolutely.
Why?
Okay, so Ripple actually was the second largest coin prior to the SEC's investigation of them. They did this really weird lawsuit against them, and basically the Ripple is going to be the track that everything's going to be running on in the future. So they created their own stable coin right now.
Okay.
And Bank of America, like I said, they were doing 100% of their internal transactions. They've got 83 different patents on it, and there's some incredible stuff that's going to be coming out. So.
All right. So here you have it right from them confirming it, right? So you have XRP Ledger, which is the ability to transact across the world in any currency, any tokenization, and handle millions to billions of transactions and settle them in less than 2 seconds. Millions to billions. Remember where we were, and remember where we still are right now on January 9th. Like if you wanted to send a wire from Toronto, Canada to New York, in America right now, again, corporations, right? We're talking about real America. But if you wanted to do that on the SWIFT banking system, it could take as much as 5 business days. So you might as well get in an Uber from Toronto, cross the border with a suitcase of cash, get to New York the next day, deposit it into the account, wait a 1 business day, 2 business day hold because it's some other currency from somewhere else, because it would be faster than wiring. Nah, now you have XRP Ledger, which is on the blockchain, quantum computing, it's your quantum financial system, and we are here right now, and you are living in it. You are all a part of it. This is an announcement from Amazon, AWS, and Amazon publicly put this out last year as a reminder to everybody that Amazon is using Ripple. So they are about to go live and roll out Ripple and XRP for tokenizing aspects on Amazon's platform, and Ripple will be leveraged with the XRP Ledger. And there, it's got XRP underlined twice, right? With XRP Ledger and RippleNet for the use cases for doing all internal and external transactions of everything on the blockchain. I already showed you, once again, go back to the Send It Sunday show. I'll revisit here on the screen in a moment, that the Iraq bank they've announced, right, the revaluation. They're about to launch the exchange. The exchange is doing its finals right now. It's January 9th, right? XRP and Ripple have gone live. This is freaking historic, everybody. And for people that don't get this in the plan, this is the American-based company, Brad Garlinghouse being the co-founder to it as well. David Sachs, whom you saw with President Trump in that video earlier, signing the Genius Act, who is on the board of Ripple. And Brad Garlinghouse was there for the signing of the Genius Act in August. And then they printed Treasury $500 billion of Ripple RLUSD stablecoins. We showed that article in August right here on the Sovereign Soul Show. Not hearing it anywhere else, really. So the Central Bank of Iraq is about to go live. And we have that as well right now over in Iran. And as I mentioned on Sunday's show, and I mentioned on the show prior to that as well, Iraq did a very amazing move in supporting its neighbor Iran, which was to unleash $2 billion worth of frozen assets that it had from Iran to help stem the hyperinflation during the revolution and peaceful uprising of all the people who are kicking Nazi terrorist butts across Iran right now so they can have the type of freedom we just saw in that opening video in Venezuela. And by the way, when you're looking at XRP and what it's doing right now, Steph is Crypto on X posted a great video. I'm not sure if this is actually hers, but it's on the screen. I'm going to show you how you're watching the exact parallel of XRP to gold rising right now. So just take a look at this and I'll put on the
short-term risk comparison between gold on the left-hand side of your chart and XRP on the right-hand side of the screen, both on the 2-day time frame. So every candlestick is 2 days. And you can see that gold had a similar reaccumulation phase here for a few years before it eventually took off to new all-time highs. And XRP is doing something similar. You can see how similar the market structure actually looks, and XRP is right now breaking outside of this channel. Same thing happened to gold here at the end of 2022. And is this the beginning of a massive run to the upside for XRP?
All right, so I know you have some questions on XRP, everybody, and thanks for asking that. Once again, remember you have a finite supply of XRP that's been minted. So just imagine silver, gold comes out of the ground. It's finite, right? You know, it takes a little while for Earth to produce gold, silver, platinum, you name it, precious metals and rare earth minerals. We don't really have a lot of time in our current lifetime. Even if we're wearing X39, we're taking root clean slate, right? Extend our telomeres, restores our DNA, go for a couple hundred more years or 1,000. But silver and gold, even though they're finite resources, takes time to mine it, get it out of the ground, smelt the concentrate, produce it into something for industrial applications as well. Let's also remember that China still has literally 60% of the world's exports of silver from China vaporized on January 1st because China has been buying and hoarding gold, silver, precious metals, rare earth minerals for themselves for years, as I've shown on these shows. At the same point in time, unless you can make 80 metric tons of silver every single year, which means you're a mine in China, that's only when, and that's the precursor for applying for an export license. And then it's up to the Chinese government to say, do we want you selling that overseas? That's why you're seeing an incredible disparity. That's why you've seen China and other central banks gobbling up gold and silver in particular, precious metals in the United States because of the price going down. And that also goes to the allegations that is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, like we saw that, turned off the servers for almost 12 hours on Thanksgiving Day in November and blamed it on a server meltdown, didn't have a redundancy failover, network operations center, a third-party carryover outside the country or the continent. Like, come on, right? These are the guys who were caught by Brad Katsuyama at Royal Bank, who was my floor mate in first year school at Wilfrid Laurier University. He was doing honors business. I was doing honors economics. Kid's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Brad Katsuyama, and they almost have a movie coming out on him for catching the front reining from Chicago, the Chicago Merc, the New York Stock Exchange, etc. And they're front reining trades in microseconds and just pulling off piles and piles of money, which, unless they're not caught, they don't know it's a fraud. He's the man who did it. Absolutely incredible. So it's really neat to see where we've been placed Well, I must have said something got over the target because, again, the Wi-Fi just went. So when you look at our XRP that can tokenize assets in the blockchain, I've shown you here the ISO 20022 tokens. Remember, none of this is financial advice. I've never been a medical doctor whatsoever. Never want to be. I've never played one on TV. And this is not mermaid summoning advice either, although that'd be pretty cool. But here is what the ISO 20022 rails replacing legacy banking infrastructure is to be looking like. XRP for institutional liquidity, cross-border settlement, like I've covered off, HBAR for enterprise tokenization from ETFs, funds, real-world assets, and XLM, Stellar, for global remittances, consumer payments. In a previous show, which is Sunday night show. Just go right on over here. Take a look at that. It's again on YouTube and also on Rumble because you have all the shows here on Rumble. Let's get you back to the first page. Probably going to ask me to verify again. And we're sitting here. You go to why silver can hit 11.88 an ounce. I talk about IQD, RV, XRP as well, with the aspects tied to it that you have XRP as the token of choice and 589 and what that meant on New Year's that we saw in Times Square and what 589 also means in the banking world too. And these aren't just made up numbers. Again, there's no myth here, right? Because they continue to get proven. Mysticism is proven by science. Talking to a guy who was at RIM BlackBerry, pretty much immediately after they launched the RIM 950 BlackBerry, right? And I was slinging Crackberry in New York, Wall Street, up and down West 57th and Broadway, and then later at the Department of Defense throughout that with some of the systems integrators around the world. And what is it? Well, wireless email, you can't see that. But again, science proves that we can do this. We're all on smartphones and devices, and it's all right here in front of our face. So somebody did a great job and repurposing what was on Kitco. So I kind of think we're going to see very shortly $5,000 an ounce gold. Could be a matter of days. 309 an ounce silver. Maybe that's another month or so. But I'm going to take you to a video, as I mentioned earlier, why you could see $27,000 an ounce gold in the next 4 years. Because again, you're returning to constitutional money. 15-1 metallism is the ratio. Right now, you're like 52 ounces of silver to gold, and that's eventually coming up there. So here, check out this video from last month. Me reporting on a very famous name you're all aware of. From administration just made silver listed on a critical minerals list, important to the national security of America. And one of his friends, Robert Kiyosaki, a U.S. Marine combat Vietnam veteran, owns gold mines in Utah. You don't think that this man might know a little something? So here it is, $27,000 an ounce gold. It's pretty incredible, right? When you're sitting there looking at that $27,000 an ounce gold. Now, back to the supposition we made here is, as you can see on the thumbnail, why people may generate a net worth in the millions, perhaps billions. So just imagine you have your gold. You've got it in your IRA, your 401k. You've done a direct buy with our partners, Goldco, done BuddhaLovesGold.com. Let's just say you've got $100,000 in there, right? And you're seeing a 5,000% growth in precious metals over the next several years. Well, then you're in the seven figures. Maybe it's XRP, which is trading right now just around $2.20 US, which was $1.81 last week, which was $3.40 in early this summer, which was 45 cents to 41 cents a token January of last year, and where it's projected to go now as the token of choice for the world. So when we see the banking system, which has shifted, which has been set up, which everybody's tying into themselves, BRICS doing the test for quantum financial system, SWIFT, see you later, paper trading, bye-bye. You want physical precious metals, physical gold, physical silver that you can hold and touch in your hand, or you put it into a safe depository, right? And that's what the people at Goldco, our partner, will tell you how to do it. They'll help walk you through it. Again, they're rated #1 customer service 2024 by Money Magazine and #1 investment advisors for precious metals 2025 by Money. So here we are going with the best. Tier 1, that's where it's all about, right? And like I said, they're like having God on speed dial for your precious metals needs. Their toll-free number, they're still taking calls right now. 855 is right below in the description. I'll post it in the chat. And from a biblical standpoint, because this is biblical, as this is God's money, right? We get to leverage it and use this tender for a little while during our time our souls are here in this earth, in this earthly incarnation. But after that, we return it and pay it forward, right? And hopefully you're paying it forward. I love this proverb that has been stated here. 27:12 says, wise people see trouble coming and get out of its way, but fools go straight to the trouble and suffer for it. So for those of you who have the ability, I highly encourage you to do so now. Grab some gold, grab some silver, whatever you can do. Once again, you can call the number on the screen, putting it right up here into the chat, actually, for free consultation from Goldco. It's 855-560-7948. I'll put that in the comments section here as we close the show. Again, it's in the description. 1-855-560-7948. You tell them Brad Wozni, Bling Buddha, Sovereign Soul Show gave you a shot. That's it. Come on out. All good to go. And for those of you, remember, if you're sitting here because somebody just went, gold is too expensive for me. All right, maybe you can't buy it at $4,500 an ounce right now, right? Well, guess what? Silver is $70, so then you could do that. Or maybe at $2.20, you buy a couple XRP tokens, right? And there's a difference between buying and investing. So maybe think about the self that you're investing in something that you've already seen that is put into place by President Trump, the White Hat Alliance, the White House, his administration, all across the world with the Genius Act and a return to constitutional money. It's required. You've already seen it from the Department of Labor, who have been putting it out there, and it's absolutely incredible. So, dear souls, I truly appreciate all of you being here today. We always like to end it with a funny meme. This is on our Facebook and our True Social page and Telegram and Twitter X, put it up there. I'd love to say that I came up with it. I thought it was brilliant. I didn't. Somebody else came up with it, and I don't see how we can give them credit here as it came along. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel right now. Yeah, maybe hold on if you can, for the next 48 months, and we'll be just rocking here, and then start feeling into what humanitarian projects you may want to do, right? It's absolutely powerful. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. If you've got any comments, just put them into the YouTube or chat, to the Rumble chat, comments below the show as soon as it closes off here, and let us know. Are you, advocating XRP? Are you advocating silver, gold, quantum financial system? Are you working at a bank? Many of them have already said they've seen it, over the last 2 years coming in. So we know it's all part of it right now. But let us know how you're doing. And thank you so much for being here. I'm going to leave you off as we close the show with President Trump in his own words that you get to see, that he loves gold and Buddha loves gold too. BuddhaLovesGold.com. We'll see you next time. All right, you sovereign souls, now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver if you already have not. And if you are and you have a chance to do so, I highly encourage to do so even more, because gold and silver will launch the golden age, which Commander-in-Chief Trump has continuously referenced.
The dollar is going down, and it's not a pretty picture, and it's not being sustained by proper policy and proper thinking. But this was an opportunity, and maybe an opportunity to show people what's happening with the dollar so that we can do something about it.
Get some if you can. BuddhaLovesGold.com will take you to our partner Goldco. They have over 6,000 5-star reviews. This is why now is the time to buy gold and silver, because we have thousands of Americans buying gold today. The rising inflation has reduced our purchasing power. Dysfunctional politics don't work for us. The US dollar has lost over 97% of its value since 1913, while the price of gold has increased over 9,000%. Silver has fared well against the dollar too, with the silver price increasing over 4,500% since 1913. It's about wealth protection. Physical precious metals act as a hedge against dips in volatile markets. Go over to BuddhaLovesGold.com. That's www.BUDDHA, BuddhaLovesGold.com. You will download your free silver and gold guide today, and our great people over there at Goldco will take care of you. That's BuddhaLovesGold.com. You'll see a picture of me right on there, Brad Wozni. And once again, BRICS is the new financial system. Asset-backed precious metals is the way of the future. This is about financial control. Diversifying your assets with gold and silver puts you in control of your wealth at BuddhaLovesGold.com.